Alerting is Mac here, and today I'm going to talk about how I feel burst fire weapons and semi-automatic weapons should work in GTA Online. Now, there have been a lot of people, putting, weapon ideas out there, and, a lot of those deal with burst fire weapons or semi-automatic weapons. Now, right now in GTA Online, we have no burst fire weapons, and really no semi-automatic weapons. Aside from maybe like the heavy revolver, that's about it. All of the weapons, if you hold down the trigger, it's gonna be an automatic weapon. You don't have to keep firing the trigger. And say like the pistol in this game, even though in real life it's a semi-automatic weapon, and they kind of classify it as a semi-automatic weapon because if you keep tap firing the trigger, it will fire faster than if you just hold down the trigger. You can still just hold down the trigger, and it will keep firing, basically making it an automatic weapon, just with a very slow rounds per minute. And I've had this idea, and I thought that this could work very easily and just be implemented into the game, where you would just be able to select the mode for any gun in this game, or at least, assault rifles, maybe SMGs, maybe not MGs and stuff, but, maybe the AP pistol, machine pistol, maybe even the assault shotgun if you want, and all the fully automatic weapons, even the heavy shotgun. That would also be very nice if you could. Maybe not burst fire weapons for some of them, maybe just semi-automatic functions as well. But I feel like this would be very nice. Now, what this would be is, at least on your controller, the button layout for this would be just right on your D-pad. Now, right on your D-pad right now, if you have your gun out and you press right on the D-pad, it just toggles your flashlight. So sure, if you went into ammunition and you put on this attachment that would let you do this, in which you switch between the firing modes on your weapon, you'd have to put on another attachment, and that would replace your flashlight if you had one on. So you would basically not have a flashlight, but not many people even use the flashlight, and since we already have an actual flashlight melee weapon that works as a flashlight in this game, there's really no point to a flashlight anymore, unless you do want a flashlight for nighttime scenarios. But even then, this game isn't that dark where you even need a flashlight, so you don't really need a flashlight at all, unless you're in some specific scenarios. So you would have to take away your flashlight, or they could make it where if you're aiming out sights, you'd always have your flashlight on, but if you're not, then it would just toggle off. Stuff like that, that could work. But anyways, it would just be right on the D-pad, which right now, the only button that it does is for flashlight. But it would just toggle between your automatic fire, your burst fire, and then your semi-automatic fire. If you press that button, it would go into burst fire mode, which would mean it's a 3-round burst. And if you went into semi-automatic mode, it would be only whenever you pulled the trigger. And also, in your top right, or wherever they want to put the HUD, it would tell you like if the weapon is in burst fire mode, if it's on semi-automatic mode, or just so that right next to like your ammo counter or something, they could put it up there. So not only would this be very nice, but they could also maybe make a few changes to the actual weapon when in burst fire and also semi-automatic fire to make them a little bit better. Now, one would be the damage. Now, of course, if you use a burst fire weapon in real life, it wouldn't change the damage of your weapon. That's not how, a burst fire weapon would work. But just for, just to get some people to actually have some diversity in their weapons and not always use the automatic weapons, they could do that. They could also maybe change the accuracy, but I think the accuracy should actually, if they change the damage, I think the accuracy should be a little bit different, like, just how the way the spread works. But since, no weapon in this game actually has recoil, and the spread is so little, and it's not really that bad, it wouldn't make that big of a difference if they just made, unless they made the spread, non-existent at all, whenever you're using a burst or a semi-automatic fire capability on your weapon. So what I think what they should do is just go with damage. Now, what I'm thinking is just whenever you're in burst fire mode and whenever you're in semi-automatic mode, if you're in burst fire mode, and we're going to be talking about the advanced rifle right here for the damage model, which is 34 for, a fully automatic standard advanced rifle. It's 34 damage. And let's say you went into burst fire, it would actually do a times 1.3 multiplier, which means that each bullet coming out of that weapon will deal 44 damage. Which means that if you're going up against somebody who is, a max rank, or above rank 100, and they have 328 health, it will take 8 shots to kill, as opposed to the fully automatic regular advanced rifle of 10 shots to kill. And then, let's say you went into semi-auto, it would be a times 1.6 multiplier, which would equal 54 damage per shot. Now, this would be about a 7 shots to kill, but if they're a lower rank, it would be, 6, 5, and, that takes place for all the damage models in this game. So, each weapon that had this capability would have a 1.3 multiplier for burst fire damage, and the semi-automatic damage would be times 1.6 multiplier. Which I feel like would just be pretty easy to implement, and I feel like that would be very, very nice. And then, also, one other reason why I'd like this is a lot of people, myself included, whenever the marksman rifle came out, they wanted a, iron sight marksman rifle. Now, I feel like if we got a marksman rifle that was, completely semi-automatic, and maybe a little bit different than it is right now, I feel it would actually be pretty balanced if you had a semi-automatic one and if you had it with iron sights. I feel like that wouldn't be that bad. But right now, I feel like since it's fully automatic and it's essentially a fully automatic assault rifle with the range of a sniper, I feel like they should keep that where it is. Maybe nerf it a little bit, maybe nerf the recoil or something. But also add in, these semi-automatic weapons, which while they're not as powerful as the marksman rifle, and they probably won't have as much range and stuff, they could be used at a little bit longer ranges to conserve ammo. And while ammo isn't really something that you have to conserve in GTA just because you have so much, at all, and since you have like 10,000 rounds max, it's not that big of a deal. It would be very nice, even in like death matches and stuff, where you're running low on ammo and you don't want to miss your shots. That would be very nice. And if you don't want to waste ammo, let's say you're going for a headshot, you could just know that, hey, this is gonna work. Now, what I also would like is if you're using a semi-automatic weapon or even a burst fire weapon, not only increase the range on the weapon, but also increase the headshot multiplier range so that you can get a headshot at longer ranges than you can right now. That would be nice, because of course, if you're using a semi-automatic weapon, not only going to be more accurate, but you're also you want to be more precise. So I feel like that would be very nice. And keep in mind, like I said, these are going to be, each pull of the trigger is whenever you're going to burst. It's not fully automatic or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. So it would take much more skill to use. And if you're just going for headshots, you're going to have to be more precise. Because let's say you're up close with an advanced rifle in this game that's fully automatic. Well, you can just kind of, spray and pray and hope that you get a headshot. That works. But what I would like with this is for people to be more precise, have more diversity in their weapons, and also have a benefit to using burst fire or semi-automatic, which would be very nice. Let's say, it would just give you more options. Let's say you want a burst fire weapon. That would be very nice. And sure, they could add a, burst fire only weapon, maybe make it a bit more powerful than these, types. I still feel like instead of having to create an entirely new model for a weapon, an entirely new weapon just for this situation, they could just take the assault rifles that we have now, the SMGs that we have now, some of the other weapons, maybe even the marksman rifle, maybe that have a semi-automatic version of that, and then give us that. Maybe not a 1.6 times damage, but let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Do you think that this would be a good change? Do you think that we should just get, burst fire only weapons entirely? So a completely new weapon? Or do you just think that this would work out? Would you change any other ways to balance out, semi-automatic and burst fire capabilities? Let me know that in the comments. Hope you enjoy. Feedback is always appreciated. I'll see you guys in the next video.